Hello and welcome back to Horby Junction. My name's Alan and this video is all about building a model railway, and you can see one right here behind me, of course, my very own layout, Horby Junction. So if you remember last week, we were sort of getting to the stage where we were starting to get into the nitty-gritty of detailing our micro layout, which we've called Alan's Yard, because we couldn't think of anything else to call it. But we'll come up with a better name when we've finished, I think, or maybe not. So what we're going to do this week is start that process. So I'll head out onto the landing in a minute, because yes, my landing is my workshop. I know, but if you remember right back at the start of this series, we talked about space and all the rest of it, and you've got to utilise what you've got. So we'll head out there in a couple of seconds and we'll see exactly what it is we're going to do this week from the point of view of detailing, or starting the detailing process. And at the end of the video, as of last week, I've got to finish up with a little bit of playing with trains as well, because like I said last week, you know, that's what this is all really about. We all love building model railways and the whole process of creating what you see here behind me, but in reality, of course, we just want to play with trains, really. So go make yourself a cup of tea, and I'll see you out in Alan's Yard. So here we are out on Alan's Yard, and as you can see, I've already started the process. So I'll just swing the camera around to show you where we're at. If you remember last week, we were building the background here, the cut-in and the greenery that we're going to have at the back of our model railway, just to finish it off. And we swing round, not much has happened there, and at the back I've just filled in behind the workshop as well, just here. So that's all ready to go. So the next part of the process, because look, it's just white, and if you just left it like that, it'd be really hard to cover it all, and you get little white flecks showing through. Now, if you were building, say, on a chalk hillside or something like that, then that really wouldn't matter. In fact, it would look quite good. So you could leave it like that. But in my case, that's not the case. So what I tend to do is get some cheap paint. And this is just, as you can see here, it's just acrylic paint. Buy from any model shop or any shop, come to that. This is burnt sienna. And I've also got a bit of very cheap green school paint. Because A, it's cheap, and B, it's water-based, so it's very easy to clean these babies as well, brushes and stuff like that. And what I've done is just basically mixed it together. Get rid of that, you don't need that. Mixed it together and splattered it over. Splattered is a technical term, which it isn't really. And as you can see, it's just sort of dulled it down a little bit. And in some ways, you could almost leave it like that. But of course, we're not going to. So I'll just quickly show you that process on this little bit of railway here. And it's really complicated, this. You get your paint and you basically sort of pour a little bit on here, like so. And I mean, you could do it just green if you wanted to. It doesn't. You don't have to. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter because you're covering most of it up anyway. It's just to, and it gives it a bit of added strength, I think. A bit of brown, bit of burnt sienna, as they call it, or I call it. And really, it's as simple as that. Let's put that on there like that. Get your little brush and slather it about. Now, obviously, be careful in certain places, like here, for instance, you see we've got a bit of background. I mean, in actual fact, I don't think we're going to see any of that by the time we've finished. But, you know, you don't want to paint over it in case you do see some of it. So just take your time on that back piece. And again, it doesn't have to be, you know, you're not creating a work of art here. You're just literally sort of covering the white, dulling it down, weathering it down, so that when we put our flock and our you know, bushes and weeds and trees and anything else that we may or may not want to put on this railway, you've got a scenario where the white won't show through. and sort of that's it. You know, a lot of model railwaying, as you can see, isn't that complicated in as much as, you know, yes, take your time. You know, you don't want to be painting on your walls. You've just spent all that time creating this wall down here. You don't want to slather paint all on it. But at the same time, if you did put a bit of paint on it, look, let's put a bit on. You know, there you go. There's a bit there. Rub your finger across it and suddenly it makes it, you can't really see it on the camera, but there's a little bit of green moss on the top of that now. So it doesn't really matter too much, because at this stage, all we're doing is covering that white. And you can see straight away the sort of the difference that is made. So you're going from that sort of background and just dulling it down so the white's gone. And already, if you swing the camera around now and just look at that part of the layout, you can see what a difference that has made. And that's just by painting it. It's as simple as that. So I will finish off the rest of the painting and then we'll come back and we will look at how we're going to detail this area here. What are we going to do and how are we going to do it? So I'll be back. I did probably 2 or 3 days ago. So obviously, as you can see, this bit here is finished. It's dry, whereas the piece over here is still wet because I literally only did that 10 minutes ago. So what I'm going to do now is show you the next part of the process on this part here, because obviously, I mean, you could put the flock on the dark paint and it would stick, and I guess it would look all right. But again, I just like to put a bit of PVA glue on first, because A, it's stronger, keeps the flock in position probably better, and it gives another layer of, you know, it gives another layer of strength to your back seam. So it's simple, really. Don't try and do too much at a time. Start from the sort of the top and work down. So what I'll do is just put a little bit of glue across the top, just there like that. You know, this is one of those things, you know, this is the fun part of model railwaying for me. You know, you're starting now to bring it all to life. Before, up to now, it's just been, you know, bits of card, bits of foam board and all that sort of thing. Suddenly now, you're going to turn this into something that actually looks like it might be resembling what you're trying to create, which of course is a model railway. So I put a bit down the front as well, so you can sort of see how that works. And like I say, all we're going to do is a little section of it, just to give you an idea how it all works. Get your paintbrush, spread it around, and again, you know, it doesn't really matter too much where it goes. If you need to put a bit more on, so be it. And this is not going to be the finished article by any means. This is just the next step. Now you can see I'm trying to keep it off of the tunnel portal here at the moment, only because I want to do that as a separate thing. So there you go. There is your PVA glue. So that's all ready to go. Now there's lots of different ways you can do. You go on and put on grasses on model railways. There's lots of, you can use static grass, for instance. But I tend to use Woodland scenics flock, for want of a better word. I think that's the technical term for it, isn't it? There you go. That's what it is. This is fine. You can see it's a very fine mixture. And then you can get them sort of something with a bit more texture on it, like this. And I'll show you how all this is going to work in a minute. And then you can add colour as well, which we'll do later in more detail. But you know, here we go, a bit of a brown one here. So it just gives you that little bit of context, colour, texture, whatever you want to call it. And it's really very simple. You literally get your flock and put it in your hand and bung it on. I don't think bung it on is a technical term, but you get my drift. And straight away, you can see, we're already starting to see a change in our cutting, because this is obviously sticking to the glue. Now, you don't need to go daft. You don't need to put tons of it on. It's easier to add it later than it is to try and take it away if you think you put too much on or it's in the wrong place or whatever. So just lightly dust it at this point, because again, this is not the finished article. I'm just trying to show you the process of doing it. And then if you get your thicker, you know, your sort of more coarse turf, they call it coarse turf, what you can then do is start to use that to detail. So remember, there's still glue on there, so this is all going to stick to your back seam. Just push it in a little bit, and this is all very random. You know, there's no rhyme or reason to it really. It's just what it's doing. As you can see, suddenly now you've got different colours, different textures, and there's going to be more added to that in a later date. Again, you know, a bit along the bottom here maybe. Just use your finger to push it in a little bit around that wall where the wall finishes. Now, of course, when I do this bit, we'll cover that corner anyway. What you'll find is there's little gaps where the glue's poking through. So that's a good place to actually put your flock. There's an example of that there. Look. If you push that in, now that'll dry fairly well, but when the whole thing is finished, we'll probably put a watered down PVA spray across it, just to you know, keep it all in place should we want to transport it, or if somebody wants to buy this railway and it's got to go in some sort of transport in the car or something like that. And as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm just looking for the little gaps where the PVA glue is sort of poking through, and I'm not going to do all around the bottom of here because I want to do that in a separate video. But you can see, I hope, how that sort of starts to come together. I'll just do one more little bit just to show you that again. Now you can see straight away down here, if I move the camera down, if you remember all those years ago when we started this process, there's our bespoke manual point controller with a little plastic piece on the top so that this will work, this will move. Well, we're now going to get to the stage where we can actually start to cover that up. So again, same process, spread the PVA glue around, and again, you don't need the expensive PVA glue that you see in DIY stores. This is just poster paint PVA glue, really. It's not cheap, it's not expensive. Just be careful when you're doing this. You don't want the glue on the bit where you want the manual point control to actually work, so keep the glue away from that, just to save you grief later on. So there you go, glue's in place. So same process again, get your fine turf and just sort of spread it about, and you can see it's all magically, it's starting to change. It literally will change before your eyes, as you can sort of make out. Suddenly you have got some sort of grassy cutting that you sort of didn't have before. And what tends to happen as well, and if I just sort of shove the camera around here a little bit, you can see, so just here, the brown paint is sort of poking through, and it sort of looks like a rock. So I'm sort of thinking I might leave that exactly as it is. Again, get your other flock, the coarse flock, and just throw a bit in here and there. Nothing too fancy. As I say, if it doesn't stick, don't worry about it, because we're gonna, I think, yeah, I'm gonna try and keep a bit of that clear, that rock. I think that looks quite good. And this is what happens, you know, you have this plan in your mind, and then of course when you come to do it, it can sometimes change. It doesn't always. Now I mentioned the plastic cover here, so again, straight away, you know, we've now covered that up. It's gone. It is miraculously no more. Pat it down, because you've got your glue there, so it will hold. I mean, some of it will fall off, of course. It won't all stick in the first go. But there you go. And just to prove that you can use your brown, so if you've lightly dust the brown, I'll do it the other way because you've got a shadow. Now you can see straight away by lightly dusting the brown over what we've just done, it just adds a bit more texture, a bit more colour, and like I say, we will add more colour in later. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit there now so you can see better what we've done. So there you go. So that's sort of what it was like originally, just the white. Then we painted it to make it look sort of not white. And then we've put our Woodland Scenics flock on. And I think you can see that, you know, it's really changed the whole concept of the railway almost before your eyes. I mean, you know, and this is by nowhere near finished, this piece here. You know, we've got to finish all that off. So that will be the next step. But I just wanted you to see the process. And you can see, look there, by leaving that exposed, that little bit of sort of painted area here, it sort of does look like a bit of rock. It remains to be seen whether it will stay, but you know, at this point you've now got to let that dry, and then we'll come back and sort of finish it off. So I'll let that dry, and then I'll finish off this little corner. Well, not finish it off, but add the third and final element to it. And then we'll probably play with some trains. So back in a minute. Right, so here we are. And as you can see, this is sort of dried fairly well. And I think that's starting to look really good. But what we don't have here really is, it's just very flat, isn't it? It's quite sort of, I wouldn't say boring, but it's it needs a bit of life. And again, there's lots of different ways. You can, horsehair is something you can use to make bushes. You can buy pre-made bushes, very expensive. I like this stuff here. So this is, I never remember what any of these things are called, I've got to be honest. But again, it's Woodland Scenics. Go to your supplier, go to Woodland Scenics, and all these things are there. And as you can see, that makes a fairly good, I mean, that would make a good tree, that one, look. You could actually stick that there and it looks like a tree, but they make very good bushes. Now, of course, if your model railway isn't going to go anywhere, you could sort of dump that there and that's the end of that. But in our case, this is a railway that's it's a micro layout, which means obviously you can transport it, you can take it to shows if you wanted to, charity events, raise money for kids' schools, that sort of thing, or just move it around your house, you know, have it on the kitchen table and play with trains. So it means that obviously if you move it around, this is just going to fall off. So what I tend to do is I sort of plonk a bit on here just to see what it looks like, and you know, because I'm looking at the fact that background for it. So now you could make that, that could be a hedge. You know, that could go all the way along the back of the railway, just like that. And straight away, the black has gone, the backboard has gone, and you've got a hedge. Perfect hedge. And I don't think that looks too bad. Now, if you thought to yourself, yeah, that'll do for me, Tommy, and I think I'm going to do that. I quite like that. And again, this is this whole thing about planning. Now, you know, at the start of this series, I talked about planning and more planning. And of course, you have to plan all the different elements that you're going to do. But when it comes to detailing this sort of thing, this is the fun part, because you get to this point and you think, oh, I don't know, if I don't like that, okay, well, I'll take that away then. But then I take it away and I think, actually, I do like it. So you can look at it like that and you can think, yeah, that makes a really good... Yeah, because you're trying to end your railway. You're trying to, because we know that here is going to be the fiddle yard and the trains are going to go through the tunnel here. So I think that's quite good. So I'm going to do that. I've made a decision. So take it off, keep it in the order that looks good. I like this one as the end one because it's got this really nice bush on the end. And basically all you need to do is put a line of PVA glue where it's going to go, which is obviously there, and then plonk it on. It really is as simple as that. Plonk it on, get your next piece, which obviously we know. Sometimes this comes with these little, I don't know what they are, but it's sort of, you don't really want that there because it doesn't look right. So just make sure you pull all those pieces out. Get our third piece, there he is. Put him in place. And there you have instant hedge, which gives you a defining end to your railway. From the point of view of, aesthetics, it hides most of the back scene. What you could do is you could paint this green, the top here, and put some flock on it as well, which I may or may not do at some point. But you can see that's fairly simple. Now, if you then said, okay, that's fine, but I just want a few, let's go down here. I just wanted a few bushes sort of around here. Well, again, you don't just want to plonk that there like that because that just looks, quite frankly, a bit daft, doesn't it? That doesn't really work for me. So you've sort of got to think about it. So where do I want my bushes? Now, you could, again, take the hedge, for instance, the hedge side of it, and you could take the hedge down the side of the railway. But I think that's a little bit too much. You've built all this. You don't want to hide it all. Now, I look at this piece of flock here. Well, there is a perfect piece, that looks like a sort of a bushy, hedgy type thing. Beauty of this is you can shape it. So where do you think that might go? Well, it might go there. It could go there. That might work. Or probably more likely to be down here somewhere. I quite like that. Now, you could just pour some PVA glue on it, just as we did before. Or you could have a bit of PVA glue in a tub. And I find this easier, especially if you're putting something on the angle. In fact, we'll do that right now. So let's put that piece in there. So just literally get a bit of PVA glue on the bottom. Position it where you think you want it to be. Remembering you're going to put a front piece on the railway eventually anyway, so you won't see any of that. So there you go. So straight away, you've got a little sort of bush in that corner, which takes the eye away from what's in front of it. Let's put a piece on a sort of an angle down here to show you how that works. And this is where this little tub comes in handy, because you can sort of get some glue on the bottom of it like that, and you can literally plonk it there. Now remember, it's PVA glue, so of course it will dry clear. And straight away, that's not going anywhere now. So if all of a sudden you've gone from that over here to that, which doesn't look too bad, it's not that bad, to this corner here, which now has got some colour, it's got some depth. All it needs now is the rest of the detailing. Now, for instance, there could be a fence. We could take a fence across the top of here, I suppose. But I don't think we really need to, because why would you need a fence there? There's nothing there. We've just got it. It's just literally a tunnel mouth. But we could do that if we wanted to. We might try that. We're then going to, once this is dry, I will carry this on round, but I will stop at the point of putting the flock on so that you can see how we detail the rest of it. And it's at this point that now you've started the detailing process, you start to think about, well, what else can we do? How are we going to do this area here, for instance? Now, the way this area is, this top piece is actually flat, sort of at that piece there. So you could, and we did think about this when we built it, that could be a field, an inset field. There could be a tree, there could be some cows, I don't know, sheep, anything, just to give it a visual focal point to take you. Although you don't want to go away from the railway, it's think of the setting that you're building the model railway in, not just I want some cows on it. Well, where would they be? So there you go, and the same goes around the tunnel mouth. How are we going to do that? There might be a fence there, but do we really need it? Because that's a field, and You know, and what you can do, of course, is that this area here, for instance, could be all bushes. You know, it probably won't stay there very well, but you can see what I mean. So you could, the whole thing could be covered in bushes, which does cover a multitude of sins. But the more of these bushes that you lose, of course, the more it's costing, because they aren't cheap. You know, a bag of it is probably 20, 25 quid, something like that. But you'd be surprised how much you get out of it. So you can see how you can go from the basics of where we were to where we've gotten to today. And I think that's probably a good time to stop this part of the video and head back into Horby Junction. And I think what we need is a bit of action, a bit of train action, because you can never have too much train playing time. So there you go. You know, like I said, I think the best part of building a model railway is when you get to the stage where you can start making it come to life and add the detail. And talking to detail, that's what we'll be doing next week. Don't forget, please like and subscribe and leave your comments down below. Love the comments, and liking and subscribing it helps to grow the channel. So thank you for that. Talking to detail, you know, you remember when I went to Doncaster and I bought these Skytrex barrels? That's one of the things we're going to be looking at next week, to make the workshop into something that actually is there for a reason. Why is it there? So we're going to try and bring that to life next week. And the actual layout itself, it's little things like this. That's a telegraph pole, and that's a lighting pole. You know, all these little things. A ladder. Probably can't make that out, but that's a ladder. Even a chap reading the newspaper. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? So it's all about bringing the model railway to life. And as you've just seen with watching the trains run, that really is the, you know, you can have trains running on a piece of board with a bit of flock and some trees, and it looks very nice. But when it's running past some cows in a field, it makes such a big difference. So that's all coming up next week. In the meantime, I'm off for another cup of tea. I do drink way too much tea, but hey ho. And a custard cream biscuit. That's just for Dylan. I know he likes it. I think Dylan likes a custard cream biscuit, don't you? I think he does. Well, anyway, I'm sure if he doesn't, he will now. So have a good week. Enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you next time.